Right now, going to have some fun. We're going to be talking about Duggar Union. That's a small school down in Indiana, and it has some great people. And just this week, and just as we're finishing up, Gregg Doyel from CBSSports.com just wrote a nice piece about Duggar Union. And Greg, what a great story you wrote about that bunch.
Oh, well, thank you, David. It was my honor and pleasure and privilege, and that's a story that's kind of unfolding right before our eyes, and it's not done. It's not even close to being done, but it's on the uptick, and that's a happy place to be.
You know, I've been following it since the whole thing started here in Rockford, Illinois, where I'm at, and it's just interesting to see these people just never give up, do they? It's like, kick me in the teeth once, I'm just going to get up and do it again, and they have the fight and the abilities right here that a lot of people would have gave up a long time ago.
Yeah, and what happened to Duggar, or what could have happened to Duggar, has happened to small towns all over America, but specifically in the Midwest, because the Midwest, for whatever reason, really lends itself to having a bunch of little towns, and each town has its own school. Mm-hmm. Very, very parochial is probably the wrong word, but little towns, little schools, and that's the way they're going to roll. And over time, as everything gets more and more expensive, it's just not you can't afford. Every town can have its own school, and so school districts are consolidating, and they're taking schools out of towns, and the smaller the town, the more the chances of that town folding. Because without a school, young parents, the kind of people that will help a town grow and thrive,
yep.
Young parents with kids, putting down roots, they don't want to live there. Like, if my kid can't go to school in this town, I'm not going to put them on a bus to go 20 miles. I'll just go live in that town 20 miles away. So towns die when they lose their schools, and Duggar was told about 6 months ago, you're losing your school. We're taking it from you. And Duggar knew. Duggar could die. And Duggar said no. Duggar said, no, you can't take our school, or you can take our school, then we're going to have our own school because we're not going away.
You know, there's a lot of issues with this. You know, that they went through the charter thing, and now they're hooked up with Indiana Cyber. But I think the thing that I find most exciting is that athletics may be the thing that draws them all together, because that's got something that they can build on, they all know about, but yet it's going to help with a good education and the future of Duggar, Indiana.
Yeah, and the people of Duggar, the people at the school, understand that, and they're okay with this. They understand that sports are kind of the glue holding the whole thing together. They're
mm-hmm.
okay with that. They're not ashamed of, this is not about the intellectual pursuit of all kinds of academic greatness, although that's part of it. Sports is why people want to stay in their town. They grew up watching Duggar football,
yep.
and going to games, and they grew up with Duggar basketball, and in the gym with the Boyd family, including Brody Boyd, went to Iowa about 15 years ago. Scored a ton of points. I mean, they grew up with those kind of memories, and they want to have their say in it, and they want to fill their role in that legacy, and they don't want to play sports at a school 20 miles away. It's not the same thing. And Duggar High last year had about 100 kids, and I was told close to 80 of those kids played sports.
Yeah.
And so you're not talking about a place where, we have a bunch of kids and a handful that play sports. No. Pretty much, if you go to the high school, you're on a sports team. So sports is a huge part of the story, which is just kind of which allows me to write it. I'm a sports writer, and I can't go writing about social issues with no sports connection. I mean, I'd love to. My boss won't let me. But this is a sports story and a bigger story.
And the thing that I've noticed about it is these people are all chipping in. It's just not one or two people. It's a whole community doing it. I've talked to like Steve Hall, who's the athletic director, Kyle Foley, the board president. I've been in touch with them. And they treat you like family, even if you just say hello to them, basically. These are just really down-to-earth good people, and I'd like to have them all as my neighbors.
Yeah, I know. There's something special about, probably most small towns. They kind of have that little kinship, brotherhood, something that, you live here, then you're one of us, then we like you. And it fosters a kind of a built-in respect and acceptance, and that leads to, good people doing good things for other good people. And so, Duggar itself they're all pitching in, but they're getting help from all over the place. As far away as 100, 200 miles away, easy. Other schools around the state, football schools, are donating shoulder pads and helmets and scoreboards and the padding you put around the goalpost so a player doesn't run into the goalpost and hurt himself after a touchdown. They're getting all that stuff donated from all over the place because they don't have any of it. When Duggar's high school was closed down by the school board corporation, the school board 20 miles away came in. It was almost like the Grinch and the Who's. They came in and took every last can of Who hash. They took everything. They took all the balls, the shoulder pads, the desks, the book. They took everything. They left behind. If you've ever seen a locust skin on a tree, look at that bug on the tree, and you pull the skin off, and it flakes away. It's nothing. There's nothing inside it. that was Duggar's high school, and their junior high and their elementary school. It's a husk. There's a building there, but there's nothing inside. So they've really had to hustle and get a lot of help from a lot of good people around the Midwest to put it all back together again.
You've been to Duggar. You talked to people and visited the site. What do you think about Duggar as a person visiting a small community in southern Indiana?
Well, that's the kind of town I grew up in. It wasn't quite that small, but I grew up in a couple towns like that, and that's my comfort zone. So for me, it was kind of like being home again. I don't need and don't want, and like I live in the Cincinnati area, but I live in a suburb about 30 miles away. I don't really want to be in a big city. I want to be in a smaller town. So for me, it was home. And what you see is people. Like I was driven around by Greg Ellis, is the guy that
Yep.
You mentioned. Kyle Foley is the president of the school board. Well, Greg Ellis was, but then he had health issues. He was just doing too much, and his son had leukemia, and his father-in-law was dying. I mean, he had all kinds of stuff. So, yeah, Foley replaced him, but Ellis is still very active there. He was driving me around when I was visiting town in his truck, and I'm in the front seat next to him, and every time we passed somebody, he would wave at him, they'd wave back, and he'd tell me who it was.
Yeah.
And I didn't write this in the story. You can't write everything, but I kind of wanted to, and I just couldn't. But he was driving down these country roads that would have a house every quarter mile or whatever, and he'd say, that's where the postman lives, and that's where the basketball coach lives, and that's where, I mean, he knows every house, and he knows who everybody is, and I'm sure everybody in that town knows where everybody is. There's only 900 people there. It's just a wonderful little community.
We talk, I always call it the new Hoosiers, like the movie, and they actually had a scene in Hoosiers where the Hickory actually played Duggar, and that really does tie it in pretty close to the Hoosier situation. I think a lot of people, you can identify with that, can't you, after being there in Duggar?
Oh, yeah. We all, not we all, but a lot of us, like to think of ourselves. I mean, it's a charming thing to be as an underdog. It's charming. Nobody wants to be. I mean, Yankees fans are Yankees fans, but nobody really aspires to be the Yankees. I want to be the biggest, baddest guy on the block, and I have to win every year or I failed. I mean, that's no fun. It's not romantic. There's nothing to it. You're supposed to win. Most of us, I think, I know I do, would rather be the guy that it's an upset if I win, but you know what, I'm going to win. I'm going to win. It's not like this makes it easy to lose. No, I'm going to win. It's going to be even more special because I'm not supposed to. That's how people, I think, want to be, and that's what Duggar is. And yet Duggar was in the movie Hoosiers, and I didn't know it. I mean, I've seen the movie a million times. I own it. And that once it was brought to my attention, I was like, oh, yeah, right, okay. I remembered it, but I was asking them, which school were you? They were one of the teams Milan beat on Milan's road to the state title.
Mm-hmm.
And all I knew for sure is that Milan played, I think, Warren Central. So I guess I don't know for sure, but Milan played a huge school in the title game. I know that wasn't Duggar. So which one were you? And what Greg Ellis told me was they had to run the picket fence to beat us. Like, that was your game? That was the game where Shooter calls the picket fence or Jimmy Chitwood to come off the screen and hit it? So that was the game, the picket fence game.
This story is just coming out now, but I've been following your Twitter account a little bit. You're getting a lot of good people telling you, say, hey, great article. Is that what you're feeling right now?
Yeah, you're hearing it a lot, and it reinforces what and not just me, I'm sure, but definitely me, need to know about this world. This world appreciates good stuff.
Yeah.
The nature of the online sports writing business, of course, that's where I am, is typically the uglier the headline, the more the clicks.
Yeah.
And it's sad, but that's what it is. Michael Vick has the dogfighting thing 5 years ago. Everybody's clicking that.
Right.
Tim Tebow, and this is a totally different thing, but Tim Tebow can't play in the NFL. People think he stinks. People are clicking that. Bad news, whether it's horrible bad news or just, unfortunate sports bad news, people click on that. But every now and then, I do a story like this Duggar one, and people really like it. It just reaffirms what you want to believe in people, that they're not just gawkers at a police crash. They actually want to read good news every now and then. And so I'm seeing that a whole lot today, and I'm real grateful for that.
I've heard some criticism of myself because I'm kind of a cheerleader for Duggar, and I'm in the media, and I do some stuff like that, and people say, oh, you just don't understand, it's tax money and all this type of stuff. But it's hard not to be a cheerleader for that group, isn't it?
Well, yeah, because they refuse to go away, but they're fighting for their life. Not their life, but they're fighting for the town's life.
Yep.
They're very aware that if they lose their schools, I was told that when the school board corporation voted to consolidate and close down Duggar schools, like the town in mass put their houses for sale. Like everybody was leaving. Well, if our kids can't go to school in this town, we're out of here. Because it's not, I don't want to put my kid in a school bus for 30 minutes a day, or 30 miles a day. So they're fighting for that, and that's noble and honorable. And I think a lot of the homes are off the market now because when they put their homes on the market, not to make them look bad, it's not like they knew there was an option. If you're just a run-of-the-mill parent and you find out your school's been closed down, your first thought isn't, "Oh, I'm sure we'll find a way to have our own school." No, your first thought is, "Oh my gosh, we have no school here. I guess we better leave." They found out. What they found out is, no, there's people in town that are fighting for you. We're going to have a school. They're actually going to have, and the numbers are close right now, but I know the trends in the last couple of days. They're going to have more kids in that school system this year than they had last year.
It's amazing.
Last year they had 323 last year in all the schools, the elementary, junior, senior high schools. 323. This year they were at 320 a couple days ago. And that number was growing every day, and the school hadn't even opened yet. It opens in about a week. They're going to top last year's numbers, which is remarkable considering they didn't even have a school 3 months ago.
Yep. And it just amazes me. I'm a big Hoosiers fan like you are, the movie. Also, the film that just came out recently, Medora, talks about a small town not too far from Duggar. Do you think someday that you're going to write a book and we can see a story about Duggar Union? I think it'd be a great story, don't you?
Maybe so. I've wanted to write something. I wanted to write a book, or at least I like the idea of writing a book. I've written two, and they're not very good. They're typical sports books. They're almost like glorified magazine articles. One's on Coach K, and one's on where are you now, Kentucky basketball players. Here's 20 players of Kentucky. What are they doing nowadays? Like where's Melvin Turpin doing? That kind of thing. Anyway, those are books, but they're not the kind of books that make a huge impact.
Yeah.
A book on Duggar would, just like Friday Night Lights.
Yep.
That made an impact. The documentary you're talking about made an impact. So yeah, maybe. You put that bug in my ear. That sounds like a great idea, actually.
Well, I'm going to keep pushing you on that. Is that all right?
Please do. I need all the pushing I can get, David. I do.
A week from tomorrow, a movie comes out that came from a sports book called A Game Stands Tall with Jim Caviezel in it. That's based on a true story, and it's kind of turned into a movie. I always ask people, I don't know about you, Greg, I always ask people in Duggar, I said, this is going to be a movie someday. Who do you want to play you? And Steve Hall just started laughing at me because he's a big boy. But I could see him being a movie.
Well, I'm the one I wrote a story, so surely I get to be part of this movie too. And I can tell you right now that Anthony Edwards, the guy that was in ER, and the guy he was in Revenge of the Nerds a long time ago, I've been told he looks like me or I look like him. So Anthony Edwards will play me.
Yeah, and you can also do the Top Gun thing. That'd be cool.
Oh, that's true. Also, frankly, Robert Redford is a spitting image for me, but I guess he's a little bit too old.
Yeah. So, it's just been a great experience. I appreciate you taking time out because I know you're busy today. You've been on Docket Show. You got any more people wanting to have you on, or should they just get a hold of you so they can come on? You can come on and talk about it.
I'll just direct them to your podcast. You know what? I've said everything I want to say, Dave Schmidt. You want me to just play that thing?
You're a good man. You're a good man, Greg. We know how to promote each other, don't we?
Oh, why not? Thank you, Dave.
Hey, I'll tell you what. One thing, I'm going down to Duggar Saturday. A week from Saturday, I'm going to be there at their first football game. They've invited me to come down because I've done some stuff to, get acquainted with them. I'm looking forward to it. It'll all be a lot of fun, and I'll let you know how that goes. Please
do, and pay attention. I'm sure it'll overwhelm you to the smells. I've been told that because all the trucks back up their trucks to the field, and they put their barbecues, and they make all kinds of brats and barbecue and burgers. I've been told that the smell is out of this world. There's so much beautiful food cooking right there next to the field that you're going to be starving, and I'm sure people will be giving you food left and right, but tell me about that when you get back.
Maybe I ought to go down early is what I'm thinking about now.
Exactly, and bring a doggy bag.
That's good. Hey, we've been talking to Gregg Doyel from CBSSports.com. Just wrote a great story on Duggar Union, and you can link to it on our podcast as well. And thanks again, Greg, for taking time out today.
My pleasure, David. Thank you. Bye.
For StatelineSportsHub.com, I'm Dave Schmidt.